pushback tonight against a Brazilian artist's claims the Shroud of Turin is not authentic. He says the depiction of the body of Christ on the shroud was likely based on a statue. The claims appeared last month in a scholarly journal. The artist also says the shroud may have been a medieval work of art. Countless Catholics and other Christians around the world believe it is the authentic burial cloth of Jesus Christ, and that the shroud was wrapped around his body after his crucifixion and marked by his unmistakable face and form. For more, let's bring in Professor Cheryl White. She is a professor at Louisiana State University and an internationally recognized shroud expert. Thanks so much for being with us. The latest criticism is that the Shroud of Turin is nothing more than a forgery, with claims it was made by a low relief model. What does that mean? What's being claimed here?
This is actually quite old news. It's something that people have tried to propose as a hypothesis before, that you can take a cloth and lay it across a three-dimensional model, and by some application of other media, you can achieve a result like the shroud. Unfortunately, of course, that's already been demonstrated, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, it's already been demonstrated that that is a completely superficial image, and it does not match all the complexity of the image on the Shroud of Turin.
The authenticity of the shroud has been debated for as long as it's existed and been discovered. Where are we with the latest scientific studies on the shroud?
The last scientific study on the shroud, the official peer-reviewed science, all that came out in the early 1980s in peer-reviewed journals, has only been substantiated by every succeeding truly peer-reviewed scientific investigation. The most recent we have indicates that we could be talking about going back to a first century date due to some new non-destructive environmental dating methods. And also, of course, the 2017-2019 studies that brought into serious question the carbon-14 dating of 1988 has opened up that very real possibility for us that we're talking about a much older linen. So I think that what we're seeing is consistency in its mystery and its complexity, that science still cannot answer the primary question of how the image was formed.
And finally, Professor, why is the fascination with the shroud so enduring?
I think that it is an incredibly complex mystery, and objects of the material world always seem to give up their mysteries. Here we confront an image on a cloth, an image that appears photographic, has photographic qualities on something that is not photographic material, a linen, with a spatial body relationship in the linen itself. There's actually an encoded message there in the image. And I think that it's science, the inability of science to really address with finality the primary questions we all have about it, that continue to pull us into the mystery. It is a mystery.
Absolutely. Professor Cheryl White, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.